Hi, guys. I am so excited to be back with you again today. So, I have an opportunity here to introduce you to an amazing mom and nurse. So, we deal with a lot of the same things as we care for families of multiples, and then also having a child with some special abilities. So, I'm excited to bring to you today Sandee, who's going to just talk with us a little bit so that we can have encouragement for our daily life, for what we do in our families, and what we take care of with our children. Hi, Sandee. Welcome.
Tomesha, thanks for having me.
I'm so glad to have you here. Thanks for agreeing to talk with me
No
for a little
problem.
bit.
No
We
problem.
both have busy days,
Yes.
busy families. And
Yeah.
so I'm excited that we were able to come together for just a little bit. So we're going to just have a quick conversation
Okay.
today. And again, thanks. So
Thank you. So if the kiddos interrupt, I'm sorry. They're up there for a few minutes, but who knows when they'll be coming down. So,
I completely understand.
hmm
so, like I said, we both have multiple children
hmm
in our families and our husbands, and then we have those with special abilities. So,
hmm
your background, not only as a mom and wife, is also as a nurse. So, what has been your experience in nursing?
So I have been a nurse in the neonatal intensive care unit for 7 years. And then following that, I have been a labor and delivery nurse. So my
Woohoo!
strengths, I always say I'm not too fancy with labor. It is what it is. That's where you come in. But my strengths are generally the sicker kids. That's just my comfort zone. But yeah, so that's my background. And now a nurse to my son, who's been fighting cancer for the past 5 years and winning.
You rock, Sandy.
Hey,
Oh,
God is
that
good.
is so
Good.
cool to hear. Yes, he is. Oh my gosh, yes. Yes, yes, yes. For any of you guys that have read my book, Purpose and Pain, you know that's how I feel. I feel like God is amazing and he is awesome. And in our journeys, we both can attest to many of the things that we have come across. And the doctors are just scratching their heads like, wow, we didn't do it. We don't
Yeah.
we don't know quite what happened, but I'm glad we were able to be a part of the process. Like literally, sometimes they're kind of like, we're glad we got a chance to see this and
Yeah.
experience this. But
Absolutely.
so you said your son deals with cancer and you have the opportunity right now to be his nurse.
Yes.
So I know for myself, like my son was in the NICU and had a kidney transplant. So mwah, to you and all the NICU
Yeah.
nurses that have helped
Me
us
too.
mamas out. Whew, I try to hold back a tear even as I say that because to this day I remember my NICU nurses. Like
Yeah.
I felt so wonderful when I was able to kind of get the same regular nurses coming back. You know how you kind of gel with a couple, and when you're
Yes.
there for a long period of time, it's like they become an extended part of your family. And when you
Absolutely.
know that they're there,
Yeah. It's nice to have a good nurse that you can count on because they end up being, I like to say, like an auntie to your baby because
yes,
they're there when you can't be, and then you can rely on them. And of course, you can rely on all of your nurses, but it's nice to have that bond with somebody that you know cares about you first and
hmm
cares about your baby, you, and especially the relationship between you and your baby. It's very important. So,
yes. It made
yeah,
such a difference. Like I
yeah, it does.
tried to room in as much as possible, but when
Yep.
I did have to leave or even try to go take a shower or like just try to do a little bit of self-care, which I didn't even the definition of self-care when I was in the NICU, I don't even think I
Right.
knew
Right. No.
what that was. I got sick and readmitted because I wasn't taking care, of myself. I was pouring everything into my baby, which I feel like a lot of times that's what we do is we pour all that we have into them. But we have to remember, and I always try to drive home to you guys, we have to do some kind of self care, whether it's stopping and writing in a journal, whether it's breathing, whether it's praying, where you just take a moment and you step back and you realize that you do have to take deep breaths. Like they are helpful, right? You
Yeah,
do have to
absolutely.
just sit down and
Yeah.
rest.
Yeah. I can recall a time where, so the aides that are working with, when Izzy was sick, it's kind of like the same type of thing, but I would do everything as far as his care was concerned because I felt like, well, if I'm doing all the caring, then I'm being a good mom. So, and since I'm a nurse, they just assumed that I would do everything because I think that was the vibe that
Mm,
I gave them.
mm-hmm.
So at any rate, I remember taking a walk, which didn't quite happen often enough. And I remember coming back and the aide was in my room washing my son. And I come back and she's like, "Oh, I'm so sorry." And I'm like, "No." And I came and I'm like, "Oh my gosh, thank you so much." Because nobody would offer to
Oh,
do that because they just assumed that I wanted to do
would
everything
do
and I
it.
never got a break. So it is important to take those
Wow.
breaks, right? When your nurse says, "Okay,
Yeah.
I've got this, go for a walk. I've got this, get lunch, then do it while you can
Mm,
and let her take over."
yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Yeah. That meant
But it's not
so much to
instinctual, I don't
me.
think. Do you think it's instinctual? I don't think breaks are instinctual to us moms. Well, I know that they're not.
No way, Jose.
Yeah,
I remember, like, and we even talk to moms about planning it in, like when you have a baby and you're nursing at home, right? If you're exclusively nursing, like,
yeah,
or just nursing, period, or when the baby goes to sleep, like you go to sleep. And
yes,
we talk, as I'm learning more so and becoming a certified lactation consultant, I'm learning so much about the hormones that are released when you nurse or when you just cuddle with your baby, and
mhm,
how that oxytocin is released into the system and you want to relax. Like it's a joyful thing, like it's a
yeah,
peaceful thing. But oftentimes I feel like we just brush that aside. And we're
yeah,
just like, but there's so much more I need to do. There's so much more I need to take care of, And in the
yeah,
word, it says that in the word of God, it says we have enough worries for today. Like just dealing with the
yeah.
moment and space and time we have for today. Let's not even go to tomorrow just yet.
Amen.
Let's just deal with what we have right here in this present space in this present time. And
Right.
so, like, I shared a post the other day that said, when dealing with pregnancy, because I deal with a lot of pregnant moms,
Mm-hmm.
um, be present,
Mm-hmm.
be there in that moment. And I remember
Mm-hmm.
that with my son, like in praying over him and just playing worship music in his room. Like I'm a praise dancer, right? And I love to sing. And so like I would just be in his room, just dancing and
Yeah.
worshiping God and just spending just quiet time with him in that way. Like we had talked before and you were sharing, like it's difficult a lot of times to even know how to spend time with your child when you can't
Mm-hmm.
hold your child, right? When you're
Yeah.
in the NICU and you can't really touch your child or hold
Mm-hmm.
your child because of different things that are happening. Like that was really difficult for me when he was on the oscillator, which helps you to breathe, right?
Mm-hmm.
But that
Yeah.
also meant I couldn't pick my baby up.
Yep.
When he had a chest tube, I could
Mm-hmm.
not pick my baby up. I
Mm-hmm.
couldn't shift him. I couldn't move him. Like it was really really difficult because
Yeah.
that's the type of person I am. Sandy, like I
Yeah.
love to love.
Yeah.
I
Well, I
love
mean,
to hug. I love
it's
and
innate. It's innate in us women, and we want to be there for our babies. And that's the hardest thing when they're ill is that we don't have control, which is really hard for us. Here we are. We've waited for this whole. Excuse me, I hear my kids. If you hear them, just ignore them. Um, so we've waited for this whole process to happen. Maybe we had the dream about how it's going to happen, and now we're in the situation, something that we
yep,
didn't even expect. Um,
yep.
but nursing has advanced a lot so that
Hmm.
they are for the bonding of the mom and the baby. And if
Yes.
it's safe and they're capable, then they will. So let me go ahead and take a 2-minute break and I'll be right back. Okay.
Sure.
Okay.
So as I was saying, it's really really interesting how in the journey, like there's so many things that we have to go through, so many challenges that we're faced with, but it's so important that we take the time to be present in those challenges, to acknowledge and be grateful in those challenges for even what we're facing, just because it helps us to grow. if we look at what's happening and learn from it, right? So even though, even in the NICU, I wasn't able to hold my son right away. I had the opportunity to do it right before they took him over. So, right after he was born and they were able to help him start breathing, I was able to hold him just before they put him in the cribette or the incubator to take him over and rush him over to the NICU to attach him to all of the things. Like the next time I saw my son, which I was so grateful to my midwife, who was kind of acting as a doula for me and helping me to be able to hold my child. Had she not said that, I wouldn't have been able to hold my child in the first few moments of life. And with him being attached, hey, to so many things, I didn't have that opportunity to cuddle with him. I didn't have that opportunity to hold him in the beginning. And it was really rough. It was really rough for me.
Yeah.
But I was excited for me. And I know you have a story kind of like this. I was excited that they gave me a little itty bitty blanket that I was able to like tuck into my clothing and have with me and keep next to me and then lay with him so that he could smell me and have me near him. Oh my gosh. I
Yeah.
love that. I loved that.
Yes. That's really
And I
good.
know you were sharing about a mom who
Yeah.
loved something you as a nurse, because a nurse supplied that for me. And I remember
Yeah.
with a mom's group, I was able to make some of those. But I know you
Yeah.
had a mom who
Yeah.
loved and appreciated what you did for her, being able to do some things with her child.
Yeah.
You want to share
So
that?
sure I do, but I wanted to get back to what you were saying. I think that it's important too, like you were saying, you were able to see your baby, that it's important to
Hmm.
be an advocate for yourself because
Uh-huh.
oftentimes, the babies get whisked away. And if they're stable, you should have the time and the ability to be able to see them before they go.
Yes.
And so make
Yes.
sure that you're your own advocate for that. And also, not everybody has those awesome cloths that the NICU gives you.
Yeah.
But if you have your bra or if you have, some type of cloth, let's say that you know that the baby's going to be going to the NICU afterwards, that's something that you can lay with, and then it can go with the
Hmm.
baby to the NICU, before you're even there.
Hmm. Oh,
So, but
maybe even a nursing pad,
a
like the
nursing pad,
disposable nursing pads.
yes.
That might be a
But
really
that
good thing to
But
use.
that could grab bacteria because it's got layers. So
Mm.
I would do, and
Okay.
it might be thrown away. So maybe like a little handkerchief, or maybe
Mhm.
his first hat or first cat,
Ooh,
put it in, and so
yeah.
that way it's not thrown away. But
That's
that's
such a good
yeah.
idea.
I always was a big advocate for the moms because we need it. We need to bond with our kids. That's like primary. Think about the ducks
Mhm.
that are birthed and they follow whoever's next to them. You kind of like feel like, gosh, they're going to be with my baby. I don't even get to see my own baby.
Mhm. Mhm.
So, those things are important. But yeah, so I was, you were talking to me about the mom and the blanket. Um,
Mhm.
and it's just some of those things that you don't realize that make a difference in moms' lives. Um, and one of them, I mean, I would have never pegged this one for her to remember me by, but she had a sick baby, well, early premature baby, and the baby was maybe 24 weeks.
Mhm.
And this was maybe the second or third time, maybe third day that the baby was alive, outside of the womb. And I was picking the baby up to weigh the baby. You just kind of pick them up in their bassinet. And I said, did you want to put a blanket in? Now, the baby had a tube, so she couldn't hold the baby. But did you
Mhm.
want to put a blanket in? And she said that was the very first time that she felt like
Aw.
the baby was going to live. Like it wasn't just,
Aw.
so I had no idea. Like you just don't, you don't realize. But there are things that you can do to make it
Mhm.
feel like this is your baby, so you don't feel that disconnect. So anyway,
Wow. That's awesome. So
that's about
something so small like that each of
Mhm.
us can do just to support one another. You make me think of a time that I met another mom in the NICU, and we
Mhm.
were near each other, like our rooms were near each other.
Yeah.
And we literally just talked. We just sat and talked one day. We played Uno one
Mhm.
day, and her baby was like a micro preemie. So a
Yeah.
really, really early baby.
Mm.
And it just gave us an opportunity to kind of share our stories, which I think is just so important.
Yeah,
For us
absolutely.
to be able to bond and connect with one another and know that we're not in this journey alone,
Yeah.
that someone else is around that's either been through something similar, right? Or is getting
Hmm.
ready to face something similar. I think that having different people in different stages, right? So somebody maybe that's traveling exactly the same path as you or something a little different. I think it's important that each of us reaches out to connect with one another so that we
Right.
understand we're not alone in this journey. We're
Absolutely.
not alone, you know?
Yes.
Um, so each of us, so I'll just share with you guys too as we get ready to wrap up. There's just a couple of things that I have to do, on a regular basis. That's just part of that child with super abilities that we have to work with, right? And so
Hmm.
for me, like I was telling you before, Sandee, like sometimes getting up at 7 o'clock in the morning and making meds for an entire week, where you
Yeah.
have lots of meds. And then when
Hmm.
I say lots of meds, I mean like I'm literally making probably 10 meds,
Wow.
at
That's
any
a lot.
time between vitamins, and medication because I
And
really believe
supplements.
in
Yeah.
and holistically helping the child, but
Hmm.
also with dealing with cathing, and then you have liquid meds, you have so you have oral meds and you have the ones that are, or I should say liquid and vitamins, or pills.
Hmm.
And
Right.
then for some babies you also have G tubes, which are feeding tubes, or nasal gastric tubes that are helping them
Hmm.
to gain nutrition. He used to have that, right?
Yeah.
So we've all dealt with different things, and I know for you guys we also in similarity, even though our children are dealing with a little bit of different things. Actually, Darius has um early on they well, not early on, actually in the last like 2 years
Hmm.
they've helped us to have to do different treatments to try to minimize the effects of possible cancerous cells, right? So
Oh, wow.
yeah, so we've dealt with some things, right? But even having like ports, we've dealt
Hmm.
with some of the same things. And
Yeah.
it's so amazing to me because I just didn't come across a lot of people that
Yeah.
would get it. Like I'd say something and you'd say, yeah, yep, I understand. Like we just
Yeah.
did that, or we did that
Yeah.
last week, or yeah, that was earlier on in our journey. And
Yeah.
even though we didn't have to discuss much more about that, my heart was warmed, and I felt friendship just
Hmm.
because somebody else had even a little clue
Right.
into all of the things that come together to
Yeah.
try to make this work in this
Yeah.
this medically induced,
Yeah.
world that we
Not
live
easy.
in with these amazing kids.
Yeah, I think the one thing I think I would keep in mind as we all deal with our kids and their, I like how you said that, the super abilities, their special abilities,
Hmm.
is that we were made for our kids. That God chose us
Yes.
specifically for our children because we have what it takes, and we do have what it takes. If I would, if I could tell you my journey from beginning to end, it's too much. It would overwhelm anybody. But God sustains us every day. So my day has to start at not 7, but 5:30. And the reason why it does is because over time I've learned that I have to get the Lord on the inside of me first
Come.
before I can give to anybody else. So this has to happen first. And to tell you the truth, sometimes I can do this and then I could still, still mess it up. But
Right.
I know where my lifeline is because
Yes.
we don't do this journey alone, which is awesome too. We don't parent alone. We're not, you know, uh, doing dialysis alone. We don't do it alone. God
Yeah.
and the Holy Spirit's always with us. So, it's not easy, whatever your journey is, whatever you're going into, but you will have what it takes to get through it. Um, And yeah, so anyways, I hope that was somehow supportive.
Yes. I am releasing actually a journal right now called Emotionally Epic that
Nice.
talks about dealing with your emotions, like where you are, and thinking through transitioning and just giving methods on how to move to where you want to be or
Mhm.
sustain that emotion that you want to have. Because I
Yeah.
think a lot of times we function like life is just happening, like it's just happening. But really, we're co creators in this
Mhm.
life. And so we
Mhm.
have a choice. We have a choice in how we feel.
We
We
do.
have a choice in what we do. And so, just to encourage people, right? To
Mhm.
pick those moments. And I totally agree with you. Like my best days are when I start out between like 5 and 5:30 and I'm
Mhm.
spending that time praying or walking. Like the other day, I did a wonderful walk that was just praying. Like I was just praying the whole time, just talking to God, just listening
Good.
and just praying. And it sets up your day. It sets up
Mhm.
your day. Like I came in and I was like, what are we having for breakfast today? Like, what?
Yeah.
Let's go. What are we doing? And I know, had I not stopped to take that time,
Mhm.
no, it'd have been like, go grab a bar, get in the car, we need to go. Like,
Yeah.
that would have been the day. And
Yeah.
so it affects not only us, right, but everybody attached to us. It makes that difference. It
That's
makes
it.
that difference.
That's
Yeah.
it. When we
So,
realize that it's not because women are the epicenter of our families, when we realize that if we take care of us, it will take care of our families. It will kind of like ripple effect. Then we
yes.
realize the importance of it, but it is hard. One last thing because I have to get going, but I wanted to
Yeah.
share, Tomesha, the something that came across to me was that we have our plan, like you said, got to get these kids to school, this A to B thing. But every interruption is an opportunity to rest at God's feet, to say,
Ooh,
what do
ooh,
you need?
ooh, ooh,
Is there
ooh. Say that
opportunity?
again,
It's
sis. Oh
good.
my gosh, that's so good.
Every interruption is an opportunity for us to rest at God's feet and ask Him, whether it is for help or whether it is He's trying to slow us down or He wants us to see our kids and really hear what they're saying, even though they're speaking way too many words. Whatever it is, life is not about the speed to the destination, but it's about the journey. So,
Yes.
girl.
Yes, Sandy. Oh, thank you so much for sharing your heart
I
and
love
your
you, girl.
expertise and your life learned knowledge with us. Thank you
No
so
problem.
much.
Anytime. Thanks for having me.
Oh,
It was a
oh,
nice break
what an
in my
amazing
day.
journey.
I'm skipping homeschool right now.
Yeah.
That's another
Thank
story.
you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, everyone, for joining us. We appreciate you for being here. We pray that this has blessed your life and brought some gratitude into the opportunities that you have in your life. We're extremely grateful for what God has blessed us with. And though at times we feel like it's a lot, like it's a struggle, we appreciate the fact that we have the opportunity. It's life
Yes.
is an opportunity.
Yep.
So, guys, go out there and make the most of this opportunity that's been given to you. Be encouraged. You're not alone. God loves you, and we do too.